Hey all, EC here, and today I want to talk about Nintendo Switch 2 eShop and how a virtual console could probably actually solve one of the biggest problems with the eShop. Now, if you don't know, the eShop is known for having so much slop content, which is either AI generated, asset flips, or just overall bad content. It's just not really fun. You know, if you go through the eShop, you'll probably find at least 30 different games that are aimed at an adult audience that enjoy, naughty anime games. You also have an audience of people who like brain rot content and stuff. Like a lot of the games on the eShop just aren't that great. Now, one reason I think this is because Nintendo has got a quota. For those who don't know, back in 2018, there was rumors and talk of a quota. Nintendo was trying to get between 20 and 30 games on the eShop every single week. I believe it's every single week. It's either a week or a month, something like that. But because of that quota, a lot more games are getting approved on the Switch eShop and the Switch 2 eShop as well. And they're just bad games. They're just not really worth playing. They're obviously asset flips, or they're AI generated content, or they're straight up just not sort of content you should be promoting towards kids. Although I will say the Switch does need obviously content for more mature audiences. I don't think softcore hub videos are what we were expecting. Now I've said that. Why is a virtual console potentially going to fix this when it could easily just be done by having a higher moderation standards? And yes, having higher moderation standards will actually fix a lot of these problems, and they do need to do that as well. But I think a virtual console in this regard could easily be the thing that fixes it. Now, why do I think that this will fix it? Largely because Nintendo has such a large catalogue of retro games from the NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, and whatnot, that they could have easily just start dumping random games on the eShop from their catalogue, and then people go, oh, cool, NES Baseball, oh, cool, Mario Golf, whatever, I don't know. Like, people would just be like, okay, these games from, like, classic Nintendo consoles are available, and not gonna lie, they could still keep putting these games on Switch Online as well. They keep doing that with Switch Online. These services can easily coexist. And I feel like that's also something we need to factor in. Switch Online is not Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass, for example, let's be real, is cannibalizing Xbox's ability as a platform to sell games. And that they love it because it's a constant subscription revenue. But then the cost to actually make those games is actually quite high. With Switch Online, you can argue it's a subscription service for retro games and classic games, which many people, either have played or they've never played. People will either have fond memories of games like Super Mario Bros. Or they won't, And Nintendo has made the profits of these games for decades. A lot of these games are so old that they have made at least billions in sales for these games over the years, because obviously stuff like Super Mario Bros., for example, the original Super Mario Bros., they've sold that so many times on so many different systems. It's easily a game that they could just keep selling people and people keep buying it. Now, largely to me, I feel like having the NES, Super Nintendo, all that sort of stuff on the eShop would be good, because it would not only would it feature more games and more content, you could potentially get more obscure games, or even not even more obscure games, but more well-known games that people will love, like games from Konami, Capcom, and have them sit alongside games from obviously Nintendo, which is what we already have seen for the last few years. We have seen like modern Capcom games sitting alongside Nintendo games on the eShop, but we obviously, when it comes to Switch Online, it's been harder to get certain licenses due to obviously different games and different platforms being licensed out and whatnot, and also certain games having remaster collections and stuff. Now, I do hope that we do see a way forward where we can have obviously a virtual console on Switch 2 alongside Switch Online, because I feel like giving people the option to buy these games or subscribe to a service to play them, that is a good idea. Having an option whether or not people want to just download the game or they can just get the subscription, that is a good idea, and it's also a lot more consumer friendly. And I know Nintendo's not known for being consumer friendly, but I feel like this could largely be a huge beneficiary for everyone, because everyone will be able to either just buy the games they want, they'll subscribe to the online service in any way because they have to play online or whatever, and then obviously if they just want to buy the games, they can just buy the games. If they want to just buy a copy of Super Mario Bros. Or whatever, they can just go on the eShop, buy it, and then prices of all the games will obviously be the harder factor to like what game's worth what. But we'll have to wait and see if Nintendo ever actually does this to actually be able to value which game's worth what. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, turn notifications. I've been EC, and I'm signing.